Howdy folks, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am your host, the Mighty Bjorn, and today for you I have another Skies of Ace Combat video. I'm going to be talking about the F-22 Raptor at home whenever you ask your mom for an F-22 Raptor. That's right folks. I'm going to take time to talk about the SU-57 NATO call sign Felon, which is a 5th generation twin engine multi-role fighter. As you can see here, it's a quite wide boy. Definitely very wide plane. I was kind of like, I didn't really know much about the SU-57 until I got Ace Combat 7, and then I like started looking into this plane, and it was like, it looks just so wide, and it looks really flat too. Like it's not a really tall fuselage. It's just wide. So there we go. We got a bit of a wide boy here. It is stealth capable, or so they say. I don't know how you make a plane this wide and it's be stealth capable. But I guess that's the coding they use for the plane itself, right? It is expected that the SU-57 will replace the MiG-29 and the Su-57. Sorry, Su-27. Sorry, I'm old as shit. The Su-57 was initiated from the PAK-FA program, and no, I'm not going to try to pronounce any of it because it's all in Russian, but the program began in 1999. It was a program more or less looking for the 5th generation fighter. It was essentially Russia's 5th generation fighter program. And the program was designed to look for a stealth, super maneuverable fighter with super cruise capabilities. That was like the core focus of the whole program. They also wanted integrated avionics and subsequent internal payload storage. So very similar to the F-22 in that regard. They kind of went, yeah, we want that. They kind of, it feels like to me they saw the F-22 and went, yeah, we want one of those. And because that's essentially what they wanted. They wanted an F-22. I would say the only difference is, though, is where the F-22 was meant to be an air superiority fighter, this was meant to be more of a multi-role plane, which, well, I mean, the F-22 Raptor's kind of gotten fitted to being a multi-role plane, and it was designed to be capable to do that. Sukhoi would design and produce the prototype T-50, which was delivered, and it took its first flight August 20th, 2009. The plane would feature many ideas from various planes, such as the internal weapons bay of the Su-57. It would also have the flight control and engine system, so the variable thrust capabilities of the Su-27M, which those capabilities actually came from the test bed, the Su-37, which unfortunately the Terminator, well, fortunately, unfortunately, I don't know which way we want to look at it, but the Su-37 never entered production. Various tests from the designs would also lead to the procurement of the S-35S, which entered service in 2014, and essentially the Su-35S is a further upgrade of the Su-27 because they pulled some of the avionics and ideas and etc. that they were putting into the Su-57 and went, hey, we can create another fighter with this stuff. We can upgrade fighters that are currently already in service. And essentially it's kind of like, it kind of bridges the gap between a Generation 4 and a Generation 5 fighter. With that being said, various design issues and accidents during the testing resulted in numerous delays of the program. Delivery of the first Su-57 wouldn't be until 2020, so this is a very recent plane, let alone there's not that many of them either. While the Su-57 wouldn't enter service until 2020, there was already a few variants of the Su-57. The Su-57E is an export version of the Su-57, as well as there's already an upgrade program for the Su-57M. Now, in Ace Combat 7, we only have the standard Su-57 variant of the plane, but it is planned to, essentially it's planned to take over as production. So the new production standard will be Su-57M, as well as any planes currently in service are planned to be upgraded to the Su-57. That being said, though, it's still currently in development and testing. They haven't kind of worked all the kinks out yet, and what's the price tag going to be, what's it going to mainly feature, more or less. You know, the problem is with developing anything, I know this primarily as a tanker, is there's what you have on paper and what you think you need the plane to be capable of, what you need it to be able to do, etc., etc. And then when time comes and rubber meets the road, you start finding those little design kinks that you didn't find during the testing, and you start realizing that, hey, maybe putting this 105 gun on this tank wasn't such a good idea as putting on a 120, or hey, actually perfectly in the case of the M1 Abrams, when the M1 IP was introduced, the 120 was still in testing stages. So the tank was designed around taking the 120 millimeter gun, which would make the tank the M1A1 later, but they needed the tanks now. So they introduced the M1 Abrams and later the M1 IP as they performed some upgrades to the performance specifications of the tank, because, like I said, sometimes when tanks actually get out of the testing phase, enter production, and start getting to the units, there's issues that are found that wasn't previously found. And unfortunately for me, in my opinion, this was really quick that they found kinks in the system. I mean, it was almost instantly. Understand that, once again, there's not many of these planes in service. So I'm very curious of what they're going to do with the plane. But currently, Russia is the only country with the Su-57, and it seems like right now, there only seems to be 6 in service. I haven't been able to confirm more planes than that. That being said, the Russian Air Force has actually ordered 76 Su-57s. The Su-57 has been used also in Russia, or by Russia in Ukraine, and they're mainly used in engagements at standoff range. So they're actually, these planes are really not engaging anything. They're doing their engagements at pretty long ranges. I've seen rumors as well that the Ukraine military forces has claimed that they shot down a Su-57, but I was unable to confirm that. Nothing outside of Ukraine saying, oh, we shot this plane down, says they actually shot that plane down. And kind of what I think is there might be a mistaken identity when the initial reports of the plane being shot down had come out. The Su-57 is crewed by one pilot. It is 65 feet, 11 inches long. That's 20.1 meters for my non-American audience, with a wingspan of 46 feet, 3 inches. That's 14.1 meters, once again for my non-American audience, and the height of 15 feet, 1 inch, which is 4.6 meters. It has a 22,700 pound internal fuel tank. That is 10,300 kilograms for my non-American audience, giving the Su-57 a 2,200 mile range. That's 3,500 kilometers. The Su-57 can achieve a max speed of Mach 2 at altitude with its two Saturn AL-41F1 engines. They're actually pretty massive engines. Although the Russian planes are kind of big, which I find interesting in Russian fighters, is Russian fighters are just bigger than the counterpart American fighters, if you will. The Su-57 is armed with a 30mm Gesh 30-1 autocannon. The Su-57 also has 6 internal pylons with 6 external pylons on the wings. So pretty much it's got 12 pylons in total, which really isn't bad when looking around at other fighters. The pylons can have R-77M missiles, R-74M2 missiles, KH-38M missiles, just to name some of the missiles. Understand that this plane can have a very wide variety of missiles and bombs that it can carry. It can also carry various guided or unguided bombs, although I kind of wonder how much unguided ordnance Russia uses anymore. Now, that being said, understand that the United States planes are still configured to also use unguided bombs, but we really don't use unguided bombs that much anymore. I think we more or less have that in planes as a redundancy, as we would rather have this than not have this, because who knows if we'll ever need it. The radar system that it has can track up to 60 targets and target up to 16 in a 400-kilometer range. It has an ATOL 101 KS electro-optical targeting system. So it's a really, really advanced plane. Is it better than the F-22? You know, I've seen people try to claim that it's better than the F-22. I've seen people claim that the F-22 is still better. You know, I don't really know personally. On paper, both planes look really good. And I don't, as a fighter pilot, I don't think I would be ashamed of flying either plane, to be honest. Now, I think the mission dictates what plane I would want more. If I was more centered around, you know, air superiority, I think I would want the F-22 Raptor over the Su-57. But that being said, I don't think you could go wrong there either, that if you're doing air superiority, that the Su-57 is a wrong choice. I do think, and I've seen some rumors too, though, that the stealth capabilities of the Su-57 are a bit overstated. So that could be something there to consider. But realistically, you know, this is what I got to say to you keyboard warriors on which one's the better plane. Both planes look really good on paper. I can only go by what's on paper. I don't know which one's really better. At the end of the day, it comes down to the circumstances. How is the Su-57 pilot engaging the F-22 pilot? Does the F-22 pilot have the jump on the Su-57 pilot? Who's got more training? Who's in a better position? That's the one thing about anything related to fighter aircraft, to tanks, to realistically anything. It all comes down on the operators, training, experience, and things of that nature. Now, don't get me wrong. There is advantages having the technological advantage. I mean, researching various tanks, in and out of the various tanks. I personally think the M1 Abrams is probably the best, one of the best tanks out there on the battlefield, just because of everything that it has going for it when it comes to different things, such as the various mobility, the amount of ammunition it can carry. Obviously, the training is a part of it. That the forces that use the M1 Abrams tend to be better trained, although not always in the case of Syria. You know, and it's just a more user-friendly tank. And I think that's the one thing, that's kind of where I'm getting at here as well with the fighters, is Sure, you can make a more user-friendly plane. You know, if the F-22 is a more user-friendly plane over the SU-57, then that obviously right there does give the F-22 pilot a slight advantage over the Su-57. But, you know, still, it may not be enough to sway a battle in favor of different other factors, such as who got the jump on the other pilot, who's got the, you know, who was able to get the quicker lock on, and just in general terms, who's the better pilot? Who knows how to push their plane to the limits better? And that's kind of like the one thing I'm not fond of with the keyboard warriors I see on the internet talking about planes or any military technology in general, is there's no consideration for, no one really seems to consider training, just all kinds of different things, even logistics. You know, trying to feed this plane with only 6 of them being out there, and it's seeming that production is slow and it's going to be actually kind of limited. This plane actually kind of is going to be a logistics nightmare. Not so much in the realm of fuel and ordnance. I mean, fuel and ordnance is not going to be a major problem for this plane because it can carry such a huge variety of ordnance. The gun that it uses is commonly used amongst the whole board of Russian aircraft. But where things could end up becoming a problem is spare parts. You know, if the avionics system needs replaced, if like the radar system gets damaged, if something happens to the targeting system, even if something happens to the pylon system that allows the bombs and missiles to be released, are they going to be able to repair that? And that's kind of an issue that needs to be considered too, that very few people seem to consider with any type of military technology when it comes to those standpoints. Now, when it comes to the price tag of the planes, from what I can tell, the Su-57 is actually a cheaper plane than the F-22. But that being said, Russia also has a wide variety of planes in service, and on the other coin, the United States is actually trying to not shrink their fleet of planes, but they're trying to narrow the amount of planes that they have. I mean, we probably, like just fighters alone, when you consider multi-role, ground attack, etc., we probably have over a dozen fighters of different types. And we want to, you know, I see the United States kind of narrowing it down, and it really looks like we have it narrowed down to that it's like we're going to have 3. Right now we got like 5 that we're really focused on keeping it, but it looks like we're going to narrow it down more, as it looks like the United States might be moving away from the F-16. It looks like there's an upgrade program for the F-15 that's soon going to be coming. And then, of course, there's an upgrade program for the F-18. But over time, you know, within like 20 years from now, it kind of looks like those planes are going to be gone, and we're going to have like the F-15 Strike Eagle, the F-22, and the F-35, and that's really going to be about it. And maybe the A-10. Of course, they keep trying to retire the A-10. I don't know why. So that's logistics has to be considered. But either way, folks, hopefully you enjoyed this video and enjoyed my short discussion and ranting about logistics and training and just military technology in general. Thank you all for tuning in, and hopefully you have yourself a wonderful day.